The likelihood of a post-Brexit trade deal is deeply uncertain tonight, with both Boris Johnson and the President of the European Commission speaking in gloomy terms about the chances of success. But ministers in Ireland and Germany struck a more optimistic note, saying that a deal was still feasible. The UK and the EU have agreed that a decision on the future of the negotiations will be made at the end of the weekend. Deadlines in this process have come and gone without a firm outcome, but with less than 3 weeks to go before the new arrangements start, time is fast running out. So ahead of a crucial 48 hours, we'll bring you the latest from Brussels and we'll compare the economic consequences of deal and no deal. But first, here's our political correspondent, Alex Forsyth.
It was a COVID welcome for the Prime Minister today at a firm providing energy for the future. More immediate trade talks, though, must be on his mind. Negotiators are still working out which way they'll go. As Boris Johnson warned again, reaching agreement with the EU looks doubtful.
It's looking, very, very likely that we'll have to go for a solution that I think would be wonderful for the UK. We'd be able to do exactly what we want from January the 1st. Obviously, it would be different from what we'd set out to achieve, but I've no doubt that this country can get ready and, as I say, come out on world trade terms.
So for those affected, what does that mean? This farm exports barley to the EU. If there's no deal come January, world trade rules kick in, meaning tariffs or taxes on goods moving between here and the continent, which could push costs up.
I think for the industry as a whole, it'll be disastrous. We've got a perfect storm approaching of the support payments being taken away, Brexit, possibly no deal, and COVID-19. All these things have come all at once, and that is a massive problem.
These were the queues in Kent this week. There's already congestion at ports as global supply chains struggle with demand and COVID restrictions. Brexit will mean more change for business, whatever the outcome of trade talks. The government says it is prepared, testing plans for traffic build-up this weekend. But no deal would mean more disruption. Both sides say they want an agreement, but that may well not happen because the same sticking points remain: access to fishing waters and shared regulations and standards. And on that, Number 10 says the UK has to be able to make its own decisions and not be tied to EU rules in future. From Brussels today, the message was that's perfectly possible, but there'd be a price.
They would remain free, sovereign, if you wish, to decide what they want to do. We would simply adapt the conditions for access to our market accordingly, the decision of the United Kingdom, and this would apply vice versa.
So neither side shifting yet, but the door isn't entirely closed.
We believe finding a solution in the talks is difficult but possible. That's why we, as the EU, will continue negotiations as long as the window's open, even if it's only a crack.
Negotiations are still ongoing, and I think the implications are very serious for all concerned in the event of a no deal. And I think all politicians in the United Kingdom and across Europe need to reflect on that.
So in Brussels, the mood may be gloomy, but until Sunday, which is decision day, they are still talking. Alex Forsyth, BBC News.
Let's speak now to our Europe editor, Katya Adler, who's in Brussels for us. And Katya, why is it that some are still hopeful of a trade deal when Boris Johnson, the EU Commission President, have been so gloomy?
Well, quite simply, Rita, as long as the two sides are still talking, there is a chance, however slim, that solutions are being found. We don't actually know what is going on behind closed doors. Of course, it's only the negotiators in the room who are aware of what's going on, and a health warning. In the meantime, we can expect briefing and counter-briefing from both sides. You could ask, though, if the EU really wants this deal, why is it that Angela Merkel of Germany or Emmanuel Macron of France aren't meeting the Prime Minister or talking to him on the phone like we heard today that he's been suggesting? Is it a snub? Is it bad faith? Well, the EU says no, far from that. It is simply because the focus of these negotiations is on the EU's single market. It's a market that binds all EU countries. It's something that all EU countries make their money from. So they don't think that any one single EU leader, however powerful they are, has the right to make that deal-breaking handshake with the Prime Minister, making compromises that will affect all of the others. That's why EU leaders chose the European Commission to lead in the negotiations on the EU side, to make a deal with the UK, to respect its national sovereignty, they say, as much as possible, but the priority being the single market. And yes, as you say, Reeta, the mood here is as gloomy as in the UK. But because the EU wants a deal, I'm already hearing whispers from European diplomats who say to me they hope if it comes to a no deal, it will prove so difficult for the UK that it will propel the government back to the negotiating table sometime next year, something the government says can't be taken for granted.
Katya, thank you. Katya Adler there in Brussels. Well, I'm joined now by Faisal Islam, our economics editor. So, Faisal, the mood music, as Katya was saying, is pointing towards a no deal. What does the reality of that look like?
Well, we talked about it for years. It's now getting very serious and actually very visible too. In terms, we've heard from the government's own economic advisors saying that the sort of effectively the mountain of red tape from leaving the single market and leaving the customs union will be a hit to the economy. But on top of that, no deal, as we've been hearing, will mean taxes on imports that raise prices, taxes on our exports to the EU, which would hit manufacturing. We heard from Nissan today saying there is no plan B if such a thing came to pass. But as you saw in Alex's report there, things are getting very serious. We had a meeting today from the Prime Minister who surveyed the planning for no deal. And there was another meeting of something called the Kent Resilience Forum this afternoon, testing out those that lorry park that would stretch out to Dover on the M20 for many miles. And as part of that, they're having to work out which lorries with priority load would get to skip the queue. And I have some information that apparently it will be live fish exports, which apparently come from Scotland and transported via truck, and also day-old chicks. They're the only things that they have space for in order to give priority for export. The fish and chicks strategy, apparently. Talking of fish, there's also this talk tonight of the Navy being used in terms of policing our waters if there's a no deal. So serious consequences. It's getting very real. The Bank of England says that our financial system should be protected, though, if there is an economic hit. But it's all getting rather real tonight.
OK, Faisal, many thanks. Faisal Islam there.